And welcome to my channel. My name is Micah McKenzie. If you're new here, please remember to like, share, and subscribe and hit the notification bell so that way you always know when I post a new video. Hello and welcome to TNT. I am your host, Micah McKenzie, and this is the place where we give you the spill on all things pop culture, political, and societal issues. In today's episode, I am joined with my friends Lindsay Fritz and Ryan Beloyd, and we're here to talk about what it is going to be like to return to campus for in-person learning post-pandemic. So, Lindsay, Ryan, please feel free to introduce yourselves. Let's start with Lindsay first.
Hey everyone, my name is Lindsay Fritz. I'm a senior at Fordham College at Lincoln Center. I am majoring in communications and minoring in marketing, even though I like to say that I'm studying life, and I'm very excited to return to in-person learning.
Ryan, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ryan. Like Micah, I am a theater major at Fordham and rising senior. So last year of college, probably, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. So just to give a little bit of background information for our viewers, as I'm sure you all have been aware, most students since the pandemic have been forced to jump into what has now been known in popular culture as Zoom University. Just want to say 10 out of 10, highly do not recommend. It's not for me. And I'm sure a lot of college students also share the same sentiment. But now that the vaccine has come out and we have spent a year doing virtual learning, a lot of universities are moving towards either more hybrid models of learning with emphasis on in-classroom instruction or planning on going fully in person starting this fall semester. And Fordham, being one of those schools, is trying to push for fully in person. We now have access to the vaccine. If you didn't know, as of today, the August 24th, the Pfizer vaccine has been fully FDA approved. There have also been mask mandates and vaccine requirements. I'm sure you've seen on the news a bunch of parents and teachers storming their school board meetings to discuss these mask mandates and vaccine requirements and passports and things of that nature. And of course, we have the new variants that are out here, Delta, Gamma, Lambda, which seem to be more susceptible to children and young adults. So all of that being said, all of our bases covered. Lindsay and Ryan, how are you guys feeling about the move to in-person learning?
Lindsay, I for one am very excited. I agree with I share your sentiment, Micah, that Zoom University is, it's not trying to call it fake school, but it really, I feel like I learned a significantly smaller amount of information. And in general, it felt like, most of the college experience and where I'm actually learning is in my interaction with classmates and the in-person sort of community that we can form, even if, in the past, maybe we're romanticizing what it was like to be in class and we actually didn't interact with our classmates that much. Even just being in class, forcing ourselves, being in an environment where you have to focus changes everything. So I'm excited to be back. And especially as theater majors, it's like, how are you going to do online? It's really not functional. So I'm excited.
Yeah, totally agree with you there.
Yeah, retweet everything that Ryan said. And I think, the past year and a half has made us reevaluate ourselves, the way we think, the way we work in teams. And I think if we don't go back now, when will we go back? It's now or never. And we can use everything we've learned over the past year and a half to drive us forward.
Yeah, for me, I think it's like I expected that we were going to have to wear masks. I expected that when the vaccine came out, we were going to have to get it. What I was not expecting was so many people rebelling against it or just like being angry about it. It's like, especially, since New York is requiring those, what they call vaccine passports. And you have, if you go out in public to a restaurant, you have to show that you've gotten both doses. So I'm like, this vaccination passport to me is not anything new. So I was just surprised that people were so adamant against it. If you're an immigrant, you have to show that you have proof of vaccinations to gain access to the country. If you're going out of the country into another country, you have to show that you have vaccinations, or that country may recommend that you get these vaccinations. Like, I know that when my cousin went to do the Peace Corps in Swaziland, they're like, here are a list of vaccinations that we suggest that you get. because there are these diseases here that you may be susceptible to. So I don't know. I just thought it was a little bit confusing and almost a little maddening as to why people were so adamant that they didn't want to do it. Like, I understand it's a hassle, it's another step to do whatever it is that you want, but at the same time, I feel like it's almost kind of business as usual in a sense. It's
I feel like I think the reason that people were hesitant didn't it makes sense why you could be how somebody could be hesitant that oh there's something that is given the emergency use authorization, right?
yeah.
This is the argument that they're using is that it's not FDA approved, but then they also don't trust the FDA. So it's just a little bit paradoxical, but I could understand somebody being apprehensive because it's new science. But for me, the science is fascinating, and that we have mRNA technology that is going to be implemented not only in vaccines, but in a lot of different other for treating different illnesses and stuff like that. So for me, it was kind of like, I would have gotten it anyway, even though I feel like I'm not at risk to suffer serious disease or illness from this. It still is like, I don't know. I get Fordham saying you have to get vaccinated for it. And if you understand the science, then it's actually something that's like, a step, a scientific, not eureka, but, progression.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I stand. Like, I don't know. Would if I wasn't required to get it, would I have probably waited for one of them to be FDA approved? Probably. But for those people who are saying, "Oh, it's not FDA approved," or "It came out too fast," or like, "I don't know what's in it," and it's like, babes, unless you are a scientist, a doctor, a biochemist, you're not going to know what's in this vaccine. And even if you did know, you wouldn't understand it. Like, the only reason why you would need to know is if you are allergic to some sort of chemical or medication. So for people making that claim, like, I don't know what's in it, they could have put anything in there. It's like, do you know what was in your flu shot vaccine? Do you know what was in your chickenpox vaccine? Do you know what's in the vitamins that you take that are not FDA approved? So it's just like things like that of that nature that sort of tick me off when people are adverse to the FDA or use those claims for not getting a vaccine or not wearing a mask.
It will be interesting too to see what measures people take to go against it, and making the fake vaccine cards or the Excelsior pass or whatever people do to kind of fake it. It'll be really interesting in the next few weeks as those are mandated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'd be willing to risk, because I think it's a federal charge to fake a vaccine passport. I don't know if I would be willing to risk 7 years of my freedom for the sake of that. But I mean, you got to pick your battles. And sometimes for some people, it's worth it. We talked a little bit about the precautions that Fordham is taking, and just some of the precautions that the state of New York are taking. Do you feel like that is enough, or do you kind of feel like it's sort of all that they can do at this point?
I mean, I think we're all trying to learn as we go. I don't think anyone has the answers. We're all on different pages, but I don't think there's a way to say what is right and what is wrong and what the school should be doing and what they shouldn't be. Obviously, everyone can have their own opinion, but I don't think there's a set in stone right answer right now. So I think we all kind of have to be flexible and kind of go with the guidelines in the school as we go.
So now that we are moving back to in-person learning, what is one thing from the virtual classroom of Zoom University that you will be bringing into the real life campus at Fordham University?
I think just a general overall thing I'll be bringing with me is just a better communicator. And I think, we've had to work in teams from all over the world, all over the country, all different time zones, and work on projects that we'll never be able to do in person and present in person. So I think just those critical thinking and communicating skills will not only carry with me in the classroom, but in life and in my career.
I completely agree, and I feel like the best thing that I have gotten from Zoom University is an appreciation of in person and of my classmates and my peers, and like I'm actually very excited to return in person and see you guys, I mean, Micah, you and the rest of the theater, our theater class, I texted in our Snapchat group chat and I was like, I'm excited to see you guys. Because I was just one day I was like, man, I'm actually really excited to go back in person and be able to do what I love with people that love it, hopefully just as much as I do, and that we get this opportunity to work with each other. And I realized that that's the only way I learn. I learn with other people, with people challenging and with discussion, with support, collaboration. That's really the only way that I learn in any meaningful way. And everything else is just kind of like my own, I don't know, aspirations. So
Yeah, I think that I totally understand what you're saying, Ryan, about like being excited to see everyone, especially because we are theater majors, and I'm sure this goes the same for anyone that has like a heavily in-person emphasis on their school, on their education, whether you are a lab STEM student or you are a performer. For me personally, I learned that I absorb information a lot better when I'm in the classroom because I'm forced to pay attention. There's a lot of things that you can't get away with when you're sitting in front of a teacher in a classroom that you can get away with on Zoom. You can open up another web browser, you can be on your phone. If there's enough students in the class, you can turn off your camera and your professor won't even know. So I think for me, I'll be bringing in like that. I don't want to say hyper awareness because I don't think that's the right word, but I guess like a newfound focus. And I think that just from being online, like I still did well. I still ended up being an AB student. Like nothing really changed grades wise, but I just noticed that retaining information was a little bit harder for me. Like I actually had to go back and start relearning how to take notes because I hadn't really had to do that in a while. And I think another thing I'll be bringing in is just I always like to say that you are your best advocate for yourself. Like no one is going to go as hard for you as you are. So definitely thinking about if I ever see an issue with me or I need help with something, jumping off at the first warning sign and not waiting until the last minute. Like not saying that I did that, but especially now that we're going back in person, coming from Zoom and having that a little bit more access because your teacher was online, they weren't coming to campus, you didn't have to schedule a time for you to physically meet, they could just meet from their convenience of their living room or whatever. So I think I'm definitely bringing in that connection with your professor, and really being on top of that. But I am also really excited to return to an acting classroom. Whether that means I gotta wear a mask or not a mask, I will be excited to not look at you all on Zoom. But does anyone have anything that they're least excited about for returning to campus?
Probably having to put on like real clothes and commute. Like a bunch of people have moved off campus. I have, Ryan has, and yeah, now we have to factor in that time. We don't just wake up and our furthest commute is our Zoom screen. We actually have to walk and put on real clothes and do our hair. So all that.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that, Lindsay. I was notorious for hitting the snooze button until maybe about 10 minutes before class and then rushing to get ready to be presentable on my laptop. So definitely with you on that.
yeah, I'll miss my like chess passion because I developed an affinity for chess over this Zoom University career. And so I would just have my class on and I would just play chess the whole class pretty much. And now it's over. So too bad.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you can still keep that hobby up, Ryan, in your free time. But now you'll be able to actually like play it with another person. Were you playing chess like on the computer?
Yeah, it was like online though. I'm trash also. Like I'm not good. It'd be good if I leave it behind.
But just to sort of close us out, do you guys have any advice for any other students that are possibly returning to campus for this semester?
I would say make the most of it. I mean, for us as seniors, almost half of our college education has been online at Zoom University. So if you have this opportunity to be on campus and no matter what grade you're in, definitely, take advantage, go to those RA events that you would have never gone to in person, just appreciate it. As Ryan said, be grateful for the people around you and the opportunities that one day we had and the next day they were taken away from us.
Yeah, I'd say like exactly that, presence and graciousness, that like, and gratefulness that we are not, it's not a right that we have this education as college students, right? That we have higher education. We are privileged to be able to study hopefully what we're interested in. And to do that with like people that are, smart. I mean, we go to a pretty good school, but regardless, to have the opportunity to further your education, to continue to learn, there are many places in our country and in the world that people are not afforded this opportunity, that young adults are not afforded this luxury of higher education. So it really does make me feel, even though technically we were still in school the past year, now it's kind of like, well, this is what it's about, and appreciate your life, and your blessings.
Yeah, I would definitely say that I echo both you and Lindsay. And the one thing I will add, I would just say to have grace and have patience, not only with, students, teachers, because they're all coming back and sort of having to reacclimate themselves to the classroom, but also have patience with yourself, because, you essentially are coming back from a year of, I don't want to say isolation, but of separating yourself. And you may feel overwhelmed being in classes with a bunch of people. You may feel like maybe you're not on top of your game or as on top of it as you used to be. So I would just say have patience with yourself, because this is going to be an adjustment period, not only just for you, but for everyone across the board. So don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're failing or that you're a failure, because it's just growing pains, and you will be fine if you stick to it and be patient with yourself and get the help that you need when you need it. Well,
and to that.
Amen. But yeah, Ryan, Lindsay, thank you so much for coming. I loved hearing you guys' perspective, and I hope that you guys have a great and awesome semester. And for my viewers out there, if you enjoyed the sneak peek that you saw here, please feel free to follow the TNT podcast on Spotify and Apple and Google Podcasts. And we hope to see you again for next week's episode, for our final episode on our back to school special. So thank you for listening, and thank you for watching.
Thank you, Micah.